Welcome to Stories with Brisco and Bradshaw. I would be Bradshaw, and that would be the WWE Hall of Famer, Oklahoma's most legendary son, Mr. Gerald Brisco. And this man, Think about this, Papa Shango, Kama, Nation of Domination, the Godfather, some of the greatest characters in wrestling history, all played by one man. The reason he's a WWE Hall of Famer, but more importantly, I love this man like a brother. So excited to have him on. Godfather, Charles Wright, welcome to the show.
Man, what's going on, you two? It's about time you had me on this show.
Hey, Charles, man, we've been dying to have you on here, but you're such a busy man now. You know, you got all this stuff working for you, which we'll get into a little bit later, but we wanted to build it up where we had some people out there that could appreciate your style of entertainment before we invited you on here. So, man, welcome. You're one of John and I's best friends, and all those characters that John named up, I'm proud to say I was friends with every damn one of them.
Oh, man, thank you. I appreciate it. I love both of you guys, man. You guys are two of my best friends out there in the business.
Hey, can you believe, Godfather, that back in the day, the Attitude Era, right after 95, 96, whenever that was, it was me, you, Teddy Long, and Ron Simmons riding in a full-size car all over the freaking country. And all four of us end up in the Hall of Fame. I don't think anybody would. I think they would have guessed Ron. They would have guessed Ron would have made it, but I don't know about the rest of us.
I never thought I would have made it, or Teddy, to be honest. But I thought if I ever made it, they'd have to have a special, because to put a pimp in the Hall of Fame, I mean, you might have to have a special category for me. Well, that was great time. Some of the greatest times I've had in the business was riding with you guys. And all the stories. If we told half the stories that we really did, people wouldn't believe us.
What a carload of stories. I'm just gonna we'll be jumping all over this your career here, but one of the most famous stories we've had Teddy Long on here. We've had Ron Simmons on. We got the time that Teddy left Ron in the blizzard. Was you present in the car that night? Was it one of the trips?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Yeah, Godfather wasn't with us. He must have been on a different show or something. That was up in Massachusetts, and Teddy thinks it was in New York. I think it was Massachusetts. I don't know. I don't know.
L.A.
Yeah, we've taken a lot of substances since then. So
anyway, a hell of a snowstorm in L.A. I could believe
there was a snowstorm like crazy, Godfather, and me and Ron get out to take a leak, and Teddy's mad at us because we're taking a leak, every 30 minutes. You know how it is. Once you break the seal, you got to go. So Teddy gets back in the car. I get back in the car. Teddy drives off and leaves Ron on the side of the road and leaves him there. And I said, "What are you doing, Teddy?" He goes, "What do you mean, what am I doing? Would you shut up? Just drink your beer." I said, "You left Ron on the side of the road." And he goes, "Huh? Ron Simmons." He goes, "Where's Ron?" And he had what? He had to back up on the turnpike about half a mile in the snow. Ron's out there in a blizzard, and Ron's standing with his hand on his hip like this, got snow on his hair, snow on his arm, and he's sitting there just furious. And Teddy stops about 10 feet from him. He goes, "Man, get out and tell Ron that I did not do it on purpose." So I rolled down the window. I said, "Can you believe Teddy did that on purpose?" I've never seen Ron so bad.
I was going to say, how bad was Ron in the front or back?
What's that?
Oh, he was in the back, right?
Yeah, he was in the back. Yeah.
He had to be in the back.
Yeah.
So I'm sure I can imagine how hot he was.
Oh, he got in the car. He don't sell nothing. I mean, nothing. He got in the car and he wouldn't say a word. And it got actually uncomfortable by the time we got to the hotel. I started joking about pulling over and letting them fight. And I realized Ron wasn't laughing. And I thought, you know what? I better shut up.
Ron's going to kill.
Ron's going to kill this man. I'm going to kill this man. It was great.
Boy, I'm telling you, we have some great car stories.
Oh, do we ever? One time, Jerry, I tell this today. Godfather don't want it.
I can tell this one.
I'll delete it. Yeah. So Godfather was Intercontinental champion, and we used to stay in some cheap hotels. And we're walking by the room, and we see Godfather in there, and he's got the Intercontinental belt on, and he's ripped at the time. He's in great shape. And he's sitting there and he's snizzing just a little bit, and he's butt naked looking in the mirror at himself like at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So me and Ron, sit there and just look at it. And he looks around and he goes, "Hey guys," and just keeps looking. It was great.
Yeah. Those days, and it's a good thing we had those days back in there before all these cell phones and everything came out. Or none of us would have ended up in that.
Whoa! If they had the internet and social media and cell phones and I remember when I started, they had just came out with beepers, and pagers. They were like, "Why the hell would you want a pager? That means people can get a hold of you all the time."
I hated those things. Yeah.
And people, boy, could you imagine what type of trouble we would be in today with cell phones and social media? Could you imagine what type of trouble just on a normal night that we would be into? Oh my God. I think one time with John, I think I drove to the front of a hotel, didn't I?
In Chicago. That's right. Yeah, that's right. He's driving us from somewhere. And he's indulged just a little bit in the morning and something, and he's driving, and he turns into a hotel and almost drives right through the front big windows. I mean, literally right through the front big windows. And we're going, "Stop! And he looks around and goes, "Oh yeah, windows." And he turns around. Now he's driving to Rosemont. We get about half a mile, and he goes, "Guys, did you see me almost drive into those windows?" And I said, "No, we weren't in the car." "What? Yes, we saw you driving those windows." Ron goes, "Why are we letting him drive?"
Because y'all are drinking. That's why. I wasn't drinking. I was just listening.
That's right. Nobody was capable of driving. He was the best one able to.
I don't know if you remember, I don't know where it was. It was someplace in the East Coast, and I was driving, and we were lost for a second, and I was smoking. Do you remember me pulling up to a cop, going across the street, across traffic, rolling down my window? I'm smoking. The cop rolls down his window, looks at me, and I'm like, "Hey man, do you know where 9092 is?" And he's like, he just kind of points up to the side, and we look up, and the sign's right there. And I'm like, "All right, man, later, man, peace." And I keep smoking and leave. And you guys are just like, "What the?"
Jerry, this cop just looked at it like, "I'm not falling for this. I don't know what's going on, but I'm not falling for this." And we just looked at it, it's like, "All right, nobody's doing this on purpose." And we're looking at him like, what are you doing?" He drove to the cop, parked by the sign, and asked where the sign was.
Wow.
It was great.
Hey, it's Charles. John tells a great story, and I think it involved you in Las Vegas, where he got off the escalator earlier, and he saw a police officer with a dog, and he went over and asked the police officer what kind of dog it was.
Oh, that's in the airport.
I was in the airport and found out it was a dog.
Fucking Ron.
Yeah, so tell us your version of the story, because we hear John's all the time.
My version is, I think that we were riding together. I probably wouldn't. Back then, we had the rent-a-cars, and usually we drop everybody off, and somebody would go drop the rent-a-car off. So I probably dropped the rent-a-car off, and so I come into the airport, and I've got some Smiz on me, and they know that I have it on me. And so I'm walking through the airport, and I see Ron and John there talking to this cop with a dog, and I'm like, "Oh man." And so I kind of turn the other way and start going that way. Then one of them goes, "Godfather, hey Godfather, come over here." And I'm like, "Oh no, these guys fucking crazy. What are they doing?" I'm thinking, "Oh man, they're gonna get me busted." And I'm like, "Are they crazy?" "Godfather." And I'm trying to act like I don't hear him. "Godfather, Godfather." So I go over there. What I can remember, they're like, "Yeah, this is awful," something like this, and da-da-da. And then John goes, "This is his dog," whatever the dog's name was. He goes, "He's a bomb sniffing dog."
Yeah. Oh, it was so good.
And I'm like,
was so good.
I don't know if people know this, but dogs are trained to smell only one thing. So they just marijuana, explosive, whatever it is. But thank God he wasn't a marijuana. Yeah, those two rivers. Yeah, is that close to the story?
Yeah. That's exactly what the story was.
Pretty close to the story.
Oh yeah.
Oh, can you imagine?
The funny part was Godfather trying to get away from us. He like he's not listening to us. I go, "Hey, there's the Godfather." Well, we know it's a bomb dog. We know it can't smell drugs. But Godfather doesn't know that. He's like ignoring us. I go, Godfather, come here.
That dude. Oh man. Yeah,
remember
Rivers.
the time we're in Florida one time, and me and Ron are driving down the road. We see you and Viscera pulled over by a cop with a dog. And so we pull over and think, oh man, we got to help them out. So we get out, and there's this cop there talking to you. And you go, hey man, this guy recognized me and Viscera want to take a picture. He goes, here's the APA. You want to take a picture? So me and Ron say, hey, Godfather, listen, we'll take a picture with you. You guys go on. And the guy has a dog in his back seat, and the dog's going, oh! And he's wagging his tail. He's scratching at the window. He's trying to get out, and the cop looks around. He goes, oh yeah, my dog recognizes you too. I'm like, Ron goes, Charles, get out of here. Get out of here. The guy just taking pictures.
I remember me and Viscera that's when Viscera was ridding, remember those big expeditions?
Yeah, sure do.
The big Fords. And so Vis was riding by himself. And so I'd be like, come on, Vis, I'll jump in with you. So I was smoking, and he had a Halliburton, a briefcase. If people don't know what it's a stainless steel briefcase that when you think you got a little money, you buy.
Yeah, so, every wrestler makes a first $1,000 paycheck buys a Halliburton.
Yeah. And so Viscera's rolling a blunt on the Halliburton, and I'm driving, smoking. All of a sudden, the cop passes us and looks at me, hits behind us, and hits the lights. I'm like, oh shit! As Viscera was rolling, and it was a K9 unit. But yeah, just like John said, it's how it happened. And so and believe me, the cop, I thought he smelled it, but maybe he didn't. But I mean, the dog was going crazy, and he's like, "Oh yeah, my dog's a wrestling fan too. He recognized you guys." The dog's just howling, but I know I don't care what anybody. That cop smelt it. He just let me go. He let it slide.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's no doubt about it. And the poor dog was like, "Come on, you gotta let me out. I've hit the mother load."
The dog's like that. The dog's going into convulsions and stuff.
Or give me a treat or something.
Oh my God.
One time we're down. I think we're down in Florida. I don't know. I get all my states mixed up. We're coming up to a toll booth or something. There's a cop there, and you asked Viscera mainly. Said, now listen, nobody's carrying, right? And me and Ron were in the back. It was you and Viscera for whatever reason. Teddy wasn't with us. And everybody goes, no, we're fine. As soon as we get up there, Viscera realizes we're going to get stopped. Viscera turns to you and goes, I got to admit, I'm carrying. And I thought you were going to kill him. I asked you.
But I always said if I ever got pulled, you knew this. If I even came close to it, I would eat it or throw it out or something. Anyway, just smoking. Why do all my stories involve smoking?
Hey,
let me tell one more, and this is a great one. And I was in the party waiting to get on an elevator once. There was Vince McMahon, myself, Linda McMahon, and I believe Shane and probably Bruce. We're at WrestleMania. We're coming down and we're getting ready to get on an elevator. All of a sudden, the elevator door opens, and Bruce and I and everybody else could kind of smell the smell coming down that elevator shaft. So we're not thrilled. We're not there. It's one of these hotels with 50 elevators, so we're not sure which elevator it is, of course. All of a sudden, the doors fly open. Out comes this cloud of smoke, and behind this cloud of smoke is Godfather and three of his homies in that elevator. And Vince just looks at him and said, Charles, we'll take the next elevator. Thank you.
I tell that story. I tell that story all the time. That is so true. It was me. You remember, I don't know if you remember Big Worm, but God, he passed away. But we used to just smoke like that. And I remember that elevator opening up and all you guys were there. And Vince is going, Charles, I think we'll take the next one. God bless them for, you know what? God bless you guys or them for always letting me be me, because man, they put up with a lot from me.
hey, Jerry, one time you told me, and it was during the Brawl for All, and Godfather's about to fight Dan Severn, who won the UFC, the UFC champion. I mean, it's like the greatest fighter in the world, at least at one point. It still is. And he goes, where's Godfather? I go, you don't want to know. He goes, no, he's not. I go, yeah, he is. He was back there with his boxing gloves on, smoking a joint. About to fight the UFC champion. We're sitting there going, That's the toughest dude on the planet right there.
Yeah. And that's a funny sight, trying to see a 300-pound man with boxing gloves, hold a joint and boxing gloves, with those big thick thumbs and the pad that you.
That was great.
No, man.
Oh man, so many. I just start thinking. Then when Teddy was riding with us, we had such good times and just crazy things, man. Crazy. I used to. I was known for drinking. When I smoke, I'm a lot more mellow than when I drink. And even not that I'm the bully or anything, but when I'm drinking, you got to watch out if my shirt comes off, because if my shirt comes off, I'm there.
You think? You think?
Didn't we have an incident at a bar one night, a country bar or something?
Oh, it's in Albuquerque. We go to some little country bar just to have some beers, and Godfather reads me and Ron the riot act before we walk in. Now listen, there's gonna be a bunch of rednecks here, a bunch of cowboys. Don't get into a fight, okay? Because they all gang up on us. Don't get into a fight because they're all looking for a fight. It's okay, fine. So me and Ron are sitting there, and the owner comes by, manager, whoever he was, and says, could you talk to your friend, please? And I look, Ron's right beside me, and I thought, well, he's got to be talking about Godfather. So I look out on the dance floor. Godfather's got his shirt off. Every cowgirl in there is dancing with him, and all the cowboys are just standing around, and you see them going, if he gets a little drunker, we're going to jump his big ass. You can tell. They were so mad. And he's just out there just dancing, shirt off.
Did somebody tell me to put my shirt back on or something?
Oh yeah, the bouncer told me to, because the owner came up, manager, wherever he was. Then the bouncer came and goes, listen, man, I know who you are. Just tell him to put his shirt on. I said, you tell him to put his shirt on. he ain't gonna listen to us. That was great.
So that was a stories going to the ring. Now we gotta get to the ring. Yeah. So your story, Charles. I mean, a lot of people, they just look at Papa Shango and Nation of Domination, and of course the Godfather and common stuff, and all those characters like we talked about before. But before that, you were making the highways and the roadways. Was you really trained by Larry Sharp at the Monster Factory, a great Larry Sharp?
Yes, I was. When I got into wrestling, I had made a call because I knew that somebody knew Bam Bam Bigelow, and they suggested you go talk to this guy. So I got a hold of Larry. I was training there, but unfortunately, I did more drinking there than I did training.
That's Larry.
And Jerry the King Lawler seen me. So after just a few months there, I mean, maybe 3-4 months at the most, and I'm doing more drinking and partying than I am in the ring. Jerry the King Lawler seen me, and he offered me a job. And so my very first match ever, no practice match, I knew how to lock up and do a drop down toe hold, because I was there that day. They were working on that, right? I could throw a punch.
You were sober that day.
Yeah. So, hey, with Larry Sharp wasn't no better. He was leading me into this. And so my very first match was against Jerry the King Lawler in Memphis on a Monday night. And if you're a wrestling fan, that's a big thing.
Oh, yeah.
And huge. I beat him in the middle of the ring. 1, 2, 3, my very first match after being in the school. Yeah, man. And
you know what else that shows, Charles, is that shows how good Jerry Lawler is.
Yes.
Because he was able to take you and see great talent, which is true, but also to be able to get you through a match and you never having one.
Never. And he know what he told me, and we didn't practice. He asked me to throw a punch at him. He asked me to throw a kick. He goes, just listen to me. I'll get you through it. He goes, just do everything I tell you to do. And I did everything he told me to do. And they were good matches for what they were. That just shows how creative and great he is. I mean, he could probably work with a broomstick.
Well, John and I talk about that a lot, about these guys. I mean, you were an athlete. You played football at the University of Nevada. Was that at Reno or that Las Vegas?
Reno. And then I played basketball too in college.
I got a grandnephew that's a starting right tackle at University of Nevada at Reno right now. It's the second. Yeah. Jacob Gardner, number 75.
My son, my son has his freshman year. My youngest son is there now. He's a freshman there.
Well, I'm sure he knows Jacob. Jacob started as a true freshman. He's 6'6", weighs 305 when he was 18 years old. And he walked in, he was starting right tackle. And I think he missed one game his freshman year because of COVID. But he started every game. And they got a heck of a program out there with a great coach out there. So tell your son to look him up.
I will. My son's first year there. Yeah. My son's 6'7", but he's only about 190.
Yeah. How old? Your oldest son is about 6'8", isn't he?
No, that
is your oldest.
My oldest son. No, my youngest son is the tallest. Is my youngest.
That's the one.
My other sons didn't get my height.
So they both athletic. They well, obviously one is playing football.
What? They were all athletic, but none of them really, were looking to go play college sports. Nothing. My youngest son, who's like 6'7", he told me, "Dad, I can make more money writing computer programs than I can play." And I'm like, he's good kid, good grades, great kid. So God bless him, man.
Yeah.
So Charles, anyway, one thing I didn't know was until I watched this morning, The Broken Skull with Steve Austin, that was fantastic. What a great show. But I knew you were a great basketball player. You went to University of Nevada, Reno on a full football scholarship, having never played a down of football, right?
Never. Besides flag football.
That's crazy to me. So you were like Mid-Peninsula, all the conference, all that stuff. When you were in high school, you go to play basketball, you get big lifting weights, you find out you're very strong, and then they sign you to play football, not having played one down of football.
Not one down of football. I've never had a football outfit on. A guy by the name of Charles Mann, who plays for the Washington Redskins.
Sure.
Guy by Derek Kennard, who played for the Cowboys. Tony Sendejas, who was a place kicker. That's a whole nother story that you ever want to hear. I got kicked out of a dorm. For doing some crazy stuff. And they put me in with these guys in a house. And so they taught me how to put everything. I didn't know anything, man. I didn't know anything about that. And I was a basketball player that always wanted to play football. I always wanted to play football, but my mom and dad wouldn't let me, and they wouldn't sign the papers. They said, "You're going to get hurt. We don't want you to get hurt. Play basketball." So I played basketball like a football player, and I was very physical. Even though I wasn't as big as I am now, I was strong. I was always strong. And my senior year, I averaged 20 points and 20 rebounds a game. Wow. And we had a thing called CYD. Can you dunk? I averaged like 4 dunks a game. Something people don't know, I was also a high jumper. I jumped 6'8" in high school. I jumped 6'8" in high school. I was a leaper. Oh. And then, so anyway, when I get a basketball scholarship in California, I go there, and now I start hanging out with football players who I always hung out with, lifting weights. I went from 190 to like 250 in 6 months, and that's just filling out. So long story short, football coach from the basketball school that I went to UNR, and they told Coach Chris Alt, he goes, "Hey, I got this kid. He's a hell of an athlete, da-da-da." They flew me to Reno, put a basketball in my hand. Now I'm like, 290. I'm bench pressing 400 pounds, and I'm grabbing a basketball, doing 360s and dunking behind my head. They gave me a full ride scholarship because Coach Alt said he's had success with tackles, offensive tackles being good athletes. And so I was a right tackle. They made me a right tackle.
Yeah. How did you like playing once you got into playing? Did you enjoy it like you thought you would?
But halfway through the season, I blew out my knee.
Yeah.
And I tore my medial collateral. I'd done anterior cruciate damage. And back then, man, they used to just rip you open, and and my leg never recovered, and things went kind of not downhill, but things kind of changed, because at that point I start going to strip clubs, and I start bodyguard for strippers, and I start hanging around strippers, and I start, things kind of changed after
the Godfather was being born.
Yeah, basically married the Godfather. About 20 years old is when I became kind of the Godfather, 1920.
And then how did you end up in a gang riding a Harley?
I moved to, I was working in California in a trucking company, making like after taxes, $300 a week. I mean, it's a long time ago. This is 83. And so you guys know that I like country music. Okay, this is the first year. So the NFR used to be in Oklahoma City every year.
Right.
Okay, they moved it to Vegas, and I always wanted to go to the rodeo. And so when it came to Vegas, I'm like, man, I'm going to Vegas. I'm gonna go see the rodeo. So I had a 55 Ford pickup. I drove my 55 Ford pickup here. It was a badass truck. And I went to a club, and a guy goes, hey, I went to a club. I'm like, where can you drink cheap? So they sent me to this club, and the guy came up to me and goes, hey, are you Bear from Reno? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, dude, I was a recruit there. You took me to the Mustang Ranch. You took me here. You took me there. He goes, then you did this, and then you threw a guy out a window on the second floor of his apartment. I'm like, oh, you're that guy, right? So he goes, anyway.
Wait a minute. You threw a guy out of a window in the second floor?
We got to hear of that. Yeah. Some places that's against the law, Charles.
We're playing dominoes. We're playing. All right, so we're playing dominoes in one of the dorm rooms that I was in, right? And so I'm on the third floor. They're on the second floor. So we're being loud. It's a school night. So somebody calls my room, tells me to be quiet. They call my room again, tell me to be quiet. I'm like, listen, MFer, you call me one more time, I'm gonna come down there and beat your ass. Hang up the phone. So all of a sudden I get one more call. And then now somebody's like, listen, you black son of a bitch. If you don't turn that music down, I'm going to come up there and kick your black ass and this and that, this. I've stormed down there to the guy's room, kicked down the door, mugged him up a little bit. And it was a screen door with a little patio. I threw him through the screen door hard as I could, and he went over the balcony to the ground. Okay. So now it's getting crazy. Oh, man, I go to my room. And then I find out it wasn't the guy that called me was Charles Mann. He had snuck out of the room and said, hey, buddy. So yeah, they're playing a rib on me, not thinking that I was going to go down there and do that. So can you imagine being the guy in that room? All of a sudden, this big black guy comes busted through the door, bugging you up. Anyway, that got me thrown out of the dorms.
Really?
I don't know why.
But the worst thing is when they threw me out of the dorms, they gave me a stipend. And so then they put me in a house with a bunch of crazy dudes, and they were giving me a stipend of so much money a week. And plus you could eat at the cafeteria, and you had dude, that was, I mean, and then I was hurt, so I wasn't going to practice. And then like I said, I started working in strip clubs. At maybe 19 years old, I was bouncing in strip clubs and on the weekends, and bouncing for strippers while they do their private parties. The Godfather, like you guys know me. You guys know that I'm as close to being the Godfather as you could possibly be.
Charles, we knew when the Godfather first debuted. We knew that was this. There's no pretense. There's no acting.
No,
this is Charles Wright. We knew 100%.
There's people there's people that walk in the dressing room that you look at and say, man, I could rib him all day, or I could mess with that guy all day long, and I'm not worried about it. Then there's other guys that walk in the dressing room, you look and say, I better keep my mouth shut. And you were one of those guys.
Oh my God. Just such great times, man. Just such great times back then.
So your motorcycle days.
So when I came to Vegas, I had a Harley. And so I didn't have any tattoos, and I always wanted to get a tattoo. So this is like 84. Anyway, that guy that I went to the bar, he had said that my dad owns a strip club out here called the Crazy Horse. He goes, and the guys are making $300-400 a day. I wasn't making that a week. And he goes, come down. He goes, if you move to Vegas, he says, my dad will give you a job and you can make some money. I went home, told my wife, pack up, we're moving to Vegas. And so we moved to Vegas. I started working that day as a bouncer. The two guys that were bartenders got fired for beating somebody up real bad. So they made me a bartender right away. And then I was a manager from like 86 on. I was never a bouncer. I bounced, but I was either a manager or and at the end a part owner. But
and then when you got
anyway, so while I was there, I wanted to get tattooed. And so I went to this tattoo shop and got tattooed, and I started meeting more cool people, and we formed a club. and we were all like 6'5", 300 pounds. It was called the Thugs. We were jokingly saying it was tattooed humans under God's supervision. And yeah, man, I rode with this club for a while, and we wore, and if you guys know anything about motorcycles, we wore red and white, which is sacrilegious, if you know what I mean. That's a Hell's Angel thing. But they were cool with us. And then actually, at the end, most of the guys in the group became Hell's Angels. I got into wrestling at that point. They all became Hell's Angels. But yeah, man, I was like a hardcore, serious hardcore biker.
And the way you got discovered was they're filming Over the Top, right? The arm wrestling movie with Stallone and Scott Flash Norton, and those guys discovered you in the bar, right?
They're the ones that said, hey, you should be coming. And dude, I was big then. Now I'm powerlifting. Now I'm 340, 350, and I'm big now. And so they're like, you should do wrestling. I'm like, really? And they're like, well, you ever hear the guy named Bam Bam Bigelow? Because I'm tatted up now. Got a lot of tattoos. And I go, yeah. And they go, well, he made this much money last year. I'm like, how much? So that's what got me into it. They said a guy named Larry Sharp trained him. So there you go. I called Larry Sharp. Larry Sharp said, if you get yourself out here, I'll put you up. Because you couldn't send a picture back then or anything. Like today, you could just send a picture of yourself. And when Larry picked me up at the airport, I just seen his eyes go.
Was that
this big black guy with tattoos?
Was that Scott Norton? Was he the one that you talked to?
No, I don't think so. There was a lot of extras in that movie, and some of them were wrestlers. I just didn't know. I'd have to go back and see it, but they were just wrestlers, mostly job guys, but they were wrestlers.
Yeah.
So,
Jerry, one time,
go ahead. Don.
One time, Jerry, we're in East St. Louis. It's me and Godfather, Undertaker, and Barry Windham. And it's probably 2
places.
yeah. We spent a month there that night. It was fun. So about 2:00 in the morning, Godfather, who I knew pretty well, and I'd met him in Europe when he came over to do a shot for Otto when I was working for Otto.
That's right.
He worked for Otto before. Yeah, he worked with Luke Rambo one time and Ludwig Borgo one time. I think I was there for I don't remember. I think Ludwig.
I remember meeting you there. I remember having a little conversation with you.
Well, yeah, we had a good time there in Bremen. I think it's Bremen or Hanover, one of the two. And so Godfather looks over at me and goes, I think I can take you. It's like 2:00 in the morning. I said, take me where? And he goes, take you. I think I can kick your ass. And I said, okay. He goes, let's step outside. Let's step outside. I go, oh, come on. And so he goes, let's step outside. I go, I want to put on record, I'm against this. But I'm going to, damn it. Okay, I'll go. So we go outside, and I'm thinking, good grief, man, this is a big guy. It's going to be a hell of a fight. This may not end well for me. I'm not sure what's going to happen here. So I walk out there, just me and him. And as soon as I get out there, before I can move, he hugs me and pulls me in. He goes, I love you. I just wanted to see if you'd come out here.
I love it. You had to test him, Charles.
And it was funny because we sat out there and just started BSing for a while, laughing and joking and stuff. But we were out there a while. And finally, Taker just kind of with his cool self just kind of comes and looks out the back just to see what's going on. Because we went out there, nobody knows what we're doing. He goes, oh, okay, cool. He closed the door back. It was all done.
And we've been friends ever since we met. Yeah. People don't know that the Godfather was it was started with me and you. That's where we started that gimmick.
That's right. In the popcorn match.
And it had nothing to do with the WWE or F, whichever it was at the time. It was just me and you were in the popcorn match. Me and Johnny were beating the hell out of each other.
Explain to all of our listeners a popcorn match exactly. What a popcorn
match is the match right after intermission, which is basically a match to put in some time for people to get back to their seats. I'm sorry, my phone.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's probably one of the
least, not disturb.
Yeah, it's probably one of the least important matches on the card.
Yeah, that's right. You're just trying to get people back in the seat, get ready for the main event.
Get people back in it. That's why it's called the popcorn match. So me and Johnny are wrestling popcorn match, and we're beating the hell out of each other. I mean, we're going
every night.
Every night, and people are just sitting on their hands, man.
Yep.
And they're not We're getting no reaction. They didn't give a shit about him. They didn't care about me. They were getting no reaction. Yep. So one night I went to Jack Lanza, and I kind of been thinking about things with my wife about trying this. And then we talked to John. I'm like, let's try something different tonight. And so I went out there, and Jack gave me the okay, and I went out there and grabbed the mic. People, they didn't care. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm a pimp. And then they kind of chuckled. I said, but what you don't know is right here in St. Louis, man, you got some of the best hoes ever born. And now the people are kind of popping. I'm like, how do I know? Because there's one of my old hoes. Anyway, we go through the whole thing. So we didn't even have any girls. No. I said, John, right now in the back, in a limo, I got 5 of the finest hoes you ever seen. I said, these hoes will do anything your crazy behind wants to do. And I know you. I know how crazy you are, And I said, all you have to do is turn around, walk out, okay? And all you have to do is take the hose, man. Just walk out, give me the match, take the hose. And so, John's looking around and the crowd's chanting, take the hose.
Yeah.
Take the hose. Take
the
hose.
First night. The first night they're chanting, take the hose.
Now, okay, you take the hose, take the hose. So I'm like, man, they're telling you what to do. When those sisters was beat the hell out of each other, they're telling you what to do. And so he takes the girls. He starts out, he goes like he's going to go to the girls. All of a sudden, I get the mic and I kind of start healing on the crowd. You know what? Another dumb redneck followed for my and they start booing me again. So all of a sudden, Johnny turns around. My back's to him. He comes to the ring. And mind you, I already had all the hats and stuff. I was wearing that anyway. He comes to the ring, hits me with that clothesline. 1, 2, 3, leaves. I pop up, grab the mic and say, man, pimping ain't easy. And the place pops. So we went from getting no reaction in 10 minutes for killing each other, for doing nothing for 10 minutes and having them the whole time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the whole thing was
that one night.
That's how
the whole
easy
thing,
things are born.
And it developed that after that, Godfather started developing it the whole time. I would sell whatever he was saying. I'd take the hose, not take the hose. But that's right. Attitude Era was hot. And that you'd have the big match before intermission. Then you'd have the popcorn match to get them back in their seats to get ready for the main event. It was as physical as you could believe for about 10 minutes. And we're trying so hard. And when he started doing that Godfather stuff, I'm sitting there going, this is so easy. It was just awesome. And Jerry, after a while, they switched it where now I'd come in because Godfather was getting over and he had ducked the clothesline and hit me with the hoe trade and he'd go over. And so one night, Jerry, we're working and none of this has gotten on TV yet. And so Godfather, I said, hit me with the hoe train. He goes, no, we'll do it tomorrow. I said, you're going over. Hit me with the hoe train. He said, don't get hot.
I remember that. I was probably,
intermission was good to him.
Intermission.
I'm trying to call a finish. He's going, no, we'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, so that was it tomorrow.
You're beating me.
It's your finish, dumbass. I'm like, oh, okay.
That's all the more reason being on the popcorn match, right? Intermission.
That's right.
Well, we used to have, but we used to beat the hell out of each other, man. It just no reaction whatsoever. That was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
Charles, back in your old age, Memphis after Lawler, that's an incredible story about Lawler, because usually the stories about Lawler, he brings in a guy and he videotaped beating him. He's got a videotape library, probably second to none of him beating every superstar ever stepped in the squared circle. And you're one of the few exceptions there. But is that where you first started meeting Stone Cold and Mark Calloway and that group that you became friends with and fellow Hall of Famers with later on in life?
After me and Jerry's program was done, they didn't know what to do with me because I was so green. They had no idea what to do with me. And so they said, Jerry said, we're going to bring this tall redheaded kid in to work with you. And he's pretty green too, but we're going to see what happens. His name is, his name was Punisher, the Master of Pain. His name's the Master of Pain. And so, who of course is the Undertaker, Mark Calloway. So Mark shows up and now mind you, I'm used to dealing with big white bikers, that are kind of racist and prejudiced, and I'm quick to hit. So I'm sizing Mark up when I'm like, all right, I'll take
and he's a clean cut kid.
He's clean cut, right? but he's big.
Yeah, he's big.
Like, he's 6'8", 6'9", 320. He's big. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have to deal with this because I'm used to dealing with these white biker dudes. And we had a match, and the match was so terrible. that mostly because of me, that they put us together as a tag team. And then me and Mark became good friends, and that's when Stone Cold came in. I mean, so many of the guys came in back then. I mean, anybody who was anybody has gone through Memphis back in the day. Like Jerry said, he's probably got a tape just about from Hogan to Rocky to Stone Cold to Undertaker to everybody of him beating you.
Andre, me, Jack.
Yeah, which God bless him, man. He's great.
And he drew for years and years and years, and still drawing in that damn town, man.
Yeah, and he's still working.
He's the king. Yeah, he's the king.
He is the king. That was good times back then in those territories. Too bad they don't have territories like that anymore, you know, because you were working, you were driving a lot, but we were working 5 days a week, every week.
You were driving a lot, but you were learning so much driving in those damn cars too. You know, that was the secret of success back in those days. Just, you know, getting a car full of guys that, you know, that you respected, and just listen to their stories, listen to their matches, how they put things together, and just formulating a whole stratosphere on how the business operates. So we were so fortunate to have that time.
It's too bad the guys today don't have that, but it's a different business. But yeah, we were lucky to be part of that. And when I talk with Undertaker now, we very seldom talk wrestling, but if we do talk wrestling, it's usually about those Memphis days or those older days when we were riding in the cars, making $50 a night, driving 200 miles, sleeping, you know, putting 4 people on 2 beds and taking the tops off of the beds, you know, because you had no money. I remember Wendy's being one of the first fast food restaurants that had a buffet. That you could get, you know, different things. And I remember going to Wendy's and Taker buying, going to eat, and me going to the bathroom, him going to the bathroom, giving me the receipt, me eating, and then Dirty White Boy going in there because we had no money. We hardly had enough money for gas. We're driving 200 miles from Nashville to Memphis for $50, $60, and then driving 200 miles back because we can't afford a hotel. So, I mean, but those are the times and the stories that we talk about today. Those were the best times, man, when we were starving.
And I heard, I saw in this Broken Skull that Dutch Mantel fired you one time. and Lawler said, no, we're not firing him.
I think Dutch took a little bit initiative, and he decided, you know, Dutch, hey, Soul, Soul Taker. Hey, so we don't have to, I'm sorry, but we're going a little bit direction. We're going to have to finish you up, you know, but we're going to give you 2 weeks and, you know, and wish you best.
Perfect. Damn.
And so, so I go to whoever I like, oh yeah, they're like, what's going on? My man, they just finished me up. And then it was Jerry. I think it was Jerry Lawler. He goes, who finished you up? I said, Dutch just told me, it was Jerry Jarrett. It was Jerry Jarrett. He says, who finished you up? I said, Dutch finished me up. He goes, no, you're not finished. No, I'll take care of that. And I never said nothing to Dutch until later on when he was, because I left not too long after that. When he was in WWF, that's when I brought it up to him, you know. He's like, well, you know, so you were green. And I'm like, yeah. He wanted to get one of his boys in there.
Dutch is the best. He always has a story for everything. It was so freaking entertaining.
Oh, I like him. I have nothing against him. I'm cool with him.
Yeah. Hey, well, the story you told on Broken Skull, but you never went into it. It was about the snowstorm where you wrecked the car, but you never told what happened. So Taker and you were in a snowstorm. You're from Vegas. You've never driven in the snow. Taker says you drove 10 feet. You say you drove 10 yards. But what happened?
Like I said, we're living in Nashville, and it was a blizzard outside. And back then, there's no cell phones. There's none of that to have contact with people. So we drove from Nashville to Memphis, which is 200 miles. And we get there, and Mr. Coffee, you remember Mr. Coffee? Mr. Coffee says, hey, guys, sorry, but the show's been canceled. We're like, oh, hell, now we have no money. Mind you, we only have enough money for gas. And so we're like, well, hell, we got to get back to Nashville. So it's a blizzard outside. So Taker's like, it's me, Taker, Dirty White, Tony Anthony, Dirty White Boy, and Kim, Dirty White Girl. And we're like, we got to get back to Nashville. Taker's like, let me drive. You're from Vegas. You don't know. So Taker's driving us, and Taker gets us about 2-3 hours out. And it's bad. It's a blizzard. There's cars, there's semis, there's people on the side of the road. I mean, it's crazy how we shouldn't even be driving out there. So all of a sudden I'm like, hey, Take, I want to drive. And Taker goes, no, big man, big dog. Taker calls me Bear. No, Bear, I got it, man. I've got us this far. You're not used to this. Hey, it's my car. I want to drive. No, let me keep driving. We're on an hour out. I can get us home. I said I want to drive. All right, man. So we pull over. I get in the car. Taker says 10 feet. I say 10 yards. I get, before I put the car into a spin, off the side of the road, down into a ravine, over a cliff, hanging. And I just kind of look at him and say, don't say nothing, man. And that happened. And then it just got worse from there. Believe me, the police finally rescued us. And so they put the four of us in the back of a cop car. We put all of our money together. We got a 1-bed room that was like $30 in Bucksnort, Tennessee or something. And we all just kind of made it through it. I text my wife. She, what was it called? MoneyGram or something gram back then. And it was Instagram? Not MoneyGram, whatever. They sent money. She sent some money just so we could have enough gas to get home. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who was the person that first ended up calling you for WWE? You went up there and then you became Papa Shango first, right? And went down. And what I thought was cool is you went down to New Orleans to research voodoo.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. How long did you stay down in New Orleans? And who was the first one to call you?
A week or so. I don't really remember. I was there for a minute. That was my idea. Like, let me go out there. So they flew me out there. And I was just, I kind of did everything else on my own. There were so many little places, and I just kind of got a car, would go to these different places and talk to people and kind of tell them what I was doing, and got some symbols. And I got a lot of data to give back to Vince and everybody in creative, and we went with it. But all the stuff that I was wearing and all the symbols and the curses and the thing, that was all real stuff. It wasn't stuff I was making up. There were real signs, and, I'm not a voodoo priest, but, it was real authentic what I was doing. And the words that I was saying, because I was a biker, I had no idea how to become a voodoo man from a biker, believe me. And so it was rough. I don't know if you remember, Jerry, but my very first match, Chief Jay Strongbow was in charge of it, right? And so I go out there and I do the match, and I come back, and he goes, "What was that?" I'm like, "What do you mean, what was that?" He goes, "You're a voodoo man. You're out there wrestling like you're the Soul Taker." And so they had to take all my paint off, and we had to do it again. He goes, "I want you out there shaking," and I'd never dawned on me to do any of that stuff. And so that's why I started shaking my head. He goes, no. So yeah, I had no idea. I did the best I could, but believe me, it was hard, because I'm as far away from a voodoo man at that point as you could be.
One of the greatest stories about Chief Jay was with Owen, if you remember, when Chief Jay pulled Owen aside. He goes, "Hey, Owen, would you do that in a shoot?" And Owen, being Owen, he goes, "No, I'd hop on one foot and go, whoa, 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 whoa."
Yeah. Yes, I remember that.
I loved Owen for that too. I loved Owen for saying that too.
God bless both of them. God bless both of them.
Yeah.
And
but that Papa Shango was really for television. We were way ahead of the curve, or you were way ahead of the curve with that thing. And that, of course, it's turned out to be an iconic figure. Where would you rank that? One of your favorite characters that you did. My
favorite by far is the Godfather, and that's because that's me.
That's you.
Charles Wright, Bear, God, that's the same person. My second would be Papa Shango. I wish I could do it again, and I wish that they maybe not made it so, not comical, but maybe taken away a little bit of the voodoo and made it more. I don't know.
Well, what was it?
It was way before its time.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It was just earth shaking at the time. It was way ahead of its time. I wasn't on so Broken Skull Ranch where they showed what the reincarnation of Papa Shango was going to be. That was a character looking there. The all white.
The reason I came back forth, whatever, a lot of times in the WWE, and it was because when I wasn't having fun, I always had the strip clubs in Vegas. I always had a means of making money. And so I would leave and they would call me back and ask me to have an idea. I'm like, nah, I really don't want to do that. I don't really want to do that. You know? So finally they came up with that one. I'm like, no, that sounds interesting. But I already forgot the question because I was thinking about it. What was the question?
Well, it was the reincarnation character that you were going to come back with. And that's when you ended up going in. Go ahead.
They said, okay, let's try Papa Shango again, but this time we're going to make it more serious and more menacing and not so cartoonish. Not that the other one was. And I'm like, I love it. So I got in shape and we got ready and we got an outfit all together. And I show up to TV ready to be Papa Shango. And they're like, hey, Vince wants to talk to you. And I'm like, cool, I want to talk to Vince, right? And so I go in there and talk to Vince, and Vince goes, Charles, change the plans. I'm like, change the plans? He goes, we're gonna put you in the Nation of Domination. We're gonna call you Kama Mustafa. He goes, you and Ron Simmons are gonna wrestle Undertaker in a handicap match, and you're gonna go over. And I'm like, okay, this is really what I said. I said, okay, do you have an outfit for me? That's what I said. And he said, we had something made for you. He goes, we'll fill you in more later, but that's basically where we're at right now. And so that's how I was put into the Nation of Domination. I was there to be Papa Shango. Why? You'd have to talk, you know more than me, Jerry. Why? But I just went with it. I'm like, as long as you pay me what you say you're going to pay with me, I'm here.
Charles, that's one of the great things I've always admired and respected about you. Your timing was impeccable. I mean, you did a character until you yourself felt it wasn't right. Not when the office told you it wasn't right. It's when you had that feeling. We all have that feeling. Hey, we're just not getting it done anymore. This thing needs some.
Right.
You would always take off and go out to Vegas, wherever, and reinvent yourself. And when you came back, you were something completely opposite, but completely relevant to what was going on. And that was always really cool to watch. Well, what's he going to be this time? You know, you come in. But it was great every time you did it.
Well, thank you. I had a lot of fun. I tried. Only one I didn't really dig was the Godfather, but that's just because they took the Godfather away from me, because it's hard to be out there. Very few people get to go out there and actually be themselves, themselves. And as the Godfather, it was so fun because I was being paid to just be myself. I was not scripted. Nobody was writing for me. I would have time or finish, and everything else was up to me, whatever I wanted to do. It was really like that. Nobody was writing for me.
Yeah, let me check to see if my wife's around. No, but one of the greatest jobs I had during that time. I was a local promoter at that time and just barely getting to the office. But I was in charge of going out to these strip clubs and buying the hose. So I'd have a good bankroll on me, and so I was popular as hell with these 5 or 6 girls that were coming. So I'd always make the payoff, but I was smart enough not to make the payoff until the end of the night, because I made a mistake a couple of times before. They go out with a boy, one of the guys, and everything, and they disappear. So okay, you don't get paid until after you do your gig. But that was a fun time that I had. Thank you,
bro. I think that had to be one of the funnest times in the locker room. Is to have the house shows for all the boys to come when you're tired, you're beat up, you're drunk, you're over, you're having problems, and to come into work and have 5 or 6 strippers hanging out in the back with you.
I've had building managers come to Brisco. You got to go take a look under the bleachers and see what's going on with some of your. So I had a ball, man.
The Godfather was good for the fans. The WWE and the boys.
Backstage, man.
Oh my God. I wish we could tell some of them stories.
No kidding. Hey, one time, Godfather, you had, because a lot of times you had really good looking hoes, and sometimes you didn't. So one time, Jerry, we're on a house show somewhere, and he's got some hoes that, if 10's the top, they were about ones, one and a half. They weren't so good. Dressed like they're 10's, but they're ones. And so Godfather's like, what do I do? So he's talking to Ron. So he gets out there, and this is what he does. He gets on the microphone. He goes, listen, which one of you guys after a six-pack wouldn't do one of these hoes? And everybody like, yeah!
I think I said, hey, guys, these ain't my normal hoes, but be honest, how many after a six-pack y'all wouldn't do these hoes? Now, come on.
And the whole place went from almost booing to going nuts. It was awesome.
Oh, I can imagine. Oh, boy.
One time the host came in and they said, where do we dress? And somebody said, oh, that dressing room over there, it says Vince. And so they went in, came right back out. And everybody disappeared.
Charles, one of the highlights was also that, back in those days, Howard Finkel, every night they get a show report from either Jay Strongbow or Jack Land or Greer or Renee, whoever. Renee was really funny with some of them too, and give us a show report. And I always look forward when it comes to the description of the whole match, of the Godfather's match. Some of the wordings of it. Of course, you guys know how eloquent Jack Landa was, so he'd be very descriptive a lot of time. Strongbow would just, he wouldn't know what the hell was going on. But reading those descriptions, and I remember Vince reading them a couple of times in production meetings, and we're just rolling in the aisle with it. So you brought a lot of entertainment.
What was cool is on TV I was rated X, but in house shows I was triple X because there was no cameras on you. So I had a lot of fun in the house shows with the girls. It was like triple X rated.
Yeah, it's
Godfather.
Godfather
would.
All right.
Godfather one time would say, he goes, "We're gonna light this motherfunker up." All right. Me and Ron are, Charles, I really don't think you should say that on television. I think that somebody, no, it's fine. I'm saying motherfunker.
I remember that. Johnny, were you part of that time in San Jose, my hometown, where I went to TV and I wasn't on the card and I went into Vince's office? Were you there?
What does every dog need? Yes, I was there.
God. Jerry, I got full of myself. Right now, Godfather's over, and back then they had the signs. All the people had the signs.
Right,
and there used to be Godfather signs everywhere. Pimpin' ain't easy, Ho Train. And I got a little full of myself, right? And so I show up at TV in my hometown. I got all type of family there, friends there. Guy from the Hells Angels is there. I got all type of friends there, right? I come in, I'm not on the card. It's a TV. I'm not anywhere on the card. There's no hose. Oh, there was hoes. There was girls there, but I'm not on the card nowhere. So I'm like, no, man. I said, do they know who I am? I'm the Godfather. You see all those signs out there? You see all these people wanting to see me and they're not going to have me on TV? I'm like, no, this is bullshit. I'm going to talk to Vince. So Ron and John are like, hey, man, I wouldn't do that if I were you. And I'm like, no, I'm the Godfather. Does he see all those signs? These people chanting my name, my T-shirts are selling. I'm the Godfather. So I go in there and talk to Vince, and I explain my side to Vince. He goes, Charles, sometimes it's better not to be on TV than it is to be on TV. But I don't hear that. I don't hear that. I keep going. No, well, I got found out. Once again, Charles, sometimes it's better not to be on TV than it is to be on TV. Don't want to hear it. Okay. All right. I'll put you on TV. You want to be on TV? I'll put you on TV. So the new card comes up, right? Godfather, Triple H, no hose. 1 minute.
Sometimes it's better.
We're driving to the next town, and the whole way, Ron out of the blue would go, "Oh, what does every dog need?" I go, "Pedigree."
I remember going to Ron saying, I didn't even know how to take the pedigree. I didn't even know how to take the pedigree, right? Because it was like I was going to start talking. He kicks me, he pedigrees me. That's the whole match, right? And so I'm like, I don't even know how to take the pedigree. And Ron goes, all you have to do is keep your chin up, man. Keep your chin up. He goes, just hold your head up. You'll be fine.
It was so funny. He goes in there like it's Bruno Sammartino demanding, hey, listen, sold out garden. I got to work. He comes back and he just sits down. And Ron goes, what are you doing? Working with Triple H. What does every dog need?
I learned a lot that day. Vince taught me a hell of a lesson that day. A hell of a lesson.
That was awesome. You know, Charles,
Charles, sometimes it's better not to be on TV. He tried to tell me.
One time I heard you talking to somebody that you were almost
NWO. I just my contract was coming up with the WWE, and that was during the wars.
Right.
And Razor and all those guys had gone over there. So I'd worked out a deal with those guys to come in as the bodyguard for them. They said, we're going to have you the first year, maybe a bodyguard, break off into some wrestling. I'm like, cool. So I'd worked out a deal with them, and I wasn't going to resign with the WWE at the time. So all of a sudden, I'm calling this person and they're not calling me back. I'm calling Jim Barnett. He's not calling me back. I'm calling this one, calling that one. All of a sudden, I'm watching the show. I see Virgil come out in that spot. And so I'm not going to get into the reasons, but they had chose to save money and go with Virgil, which I'm glad, because they just clowned Virgil in the first place. But yeah, I was supposed to be.
Was that the time that Ron Simmons gave you that really smart advice that he gave?
Ron told me when I was getting ready to go in there, Ron's like, you don't want to go there, man. He goes, that's not, he goes, you're from the North. You ain't used to dealing with these guys. He goes, I am. He goes, you're going to have a hard time there. And I'm like, well, I don't care. I'm not afraid of nobody. He's like, well, it's not about being afraid of nobody. He goes, you're not going to fit in there. You're not going to fit in with what they do there. He told me, don't go. And so I always go. I always listen to what Ron has to say. It's always worked out.
You know, the one thing about Ron, you know, when he was with the Nation of Domination, I think people
I'm going to the picture for just 1 second.
Yeah, people talk about all, you know, the great factions of all time. You know, the NWO, the Freebirds, the Four Horsemen, DX. But that Nation of Domination, that was one of the most imposing, intimidating factions I've ever seen. You look at the guys that were in it. Once you add Mark Henry to it, you had 4 Hall of Famers. And D'Lo was a terrific worker, Intercontinental champion, European champion, fit with everybody else. But those 5 main guys, that was an intimidating faction. That had to be awesome. When you guys stood on stage, that was impressive.
Wow. Could you give me a phone code for this in my room?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, man, it was a hell of a group. Just physical, man. I have a feeling sooner or later, if they figure out what they're going to do with The Rock, I think that they'll put the Nation of Domination in the Hall of Fame once they figure out whatever his situation is. But I think it's a fact. I think it should be in the Hall of Fame, the Nation. You know, what a group. Powerful, man. Just
wow.
I had a really good time in that group and became friends with everybody in that group except Ahmed Johnson.
Well, he only lasted about a day, didn't he?
I remember him going to Jerry just about the end of it. Jerry Brisco, and him telling Jerry, I won't be the Black Stone Cold. I'm going to be the Black Stone Cold.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah, okay, you're going to be the Black Stone Cold. Yeah. All right. You remember that?
I remember it very clearly. I mean, you know, you look at the guy, I mean, he had the physical tools and everything that's required, but he just didn't get it, you know, inside that squared circle. And you can have all those opposing tools, but unless you get it up here too, you know, you're not going to go anywhere. And yeah, I'm Stone Cold. I can outdraw Stone Cold. Just give me that gimmick. I can do it.
You know, the sad thing is Ron Simmons really tried to help. Ron helped everybody. Ron helped me, D'Lo, The Rock. Mark Henry really helped Mark Henry to listen to him. And he tried to help Ahmed, but Ahmed didn't want to listen.
Right.
You know? But, hey,
he only lasted a day or so, didn't he? I mean, he put him in.
He didn't last long. And then
we had him. Remember, I don't think you were on that tour, but we had him in a 5-6 day Kuwait tournament where he went down there. That's where he really started getting all the heat because we put him over in that Kuwaiti tournament down there, and all the guys hated working with him. And I remember even the night we crowned him the Sheik when we were presenting the belt to him in the center of the ring with the Sheik, the main sponsor. He was upset about. He wanted Undertaker to win the damn thing. So, but he just didn't get it. And that was a shame because he had the tools to do it.
He just
he had to help you. I mean, it wasn't like, you guys were trying to help him either. I mean, he was getting advice from everywhere, but he
wasn't listening.
He knew
and
he
then
had
when
that
Ron
big
had
body.
it with him, the best is when Ron had it with him. And then it was either you or Vince we were talking to, and they said, well, how do you want to get him? Ron just basically said, I want him out. I want him out. I don't know if it was you or Vince.
That was me.
And you said, how do you want to do it? Ron said, we gonna jump him out. We gonna beat his ass. And Ron, when we did, Ron beat him. Ron could get a little heavy with that strap he used to have.
Oh, could he ever?
He beat me one time with it pretty hard. All right. He hit Ahmed so hard, I felt sorry for Ahmed.
Oh.
And he was just like, whack. He was just riding the horse. But yeah, man, he just didn't get it. It's too bad. But the nation, strong, powerful,
Wow.
Hey, let me ask you guys a question. If there was a nation like that today, would they be baby faces or heels?
Baby faces.
They'd be baby faces.
Yeah,
I
think
DX would probably be heels.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if you put a nation together like that now, that I don't think there's any doubt that group, if they were now they'd be baby faces, no doubt about it. They were just that good. There's nothing to boo. It's like the Freebirds back in Texas. People loved them. The only time they booed them was when they fought the Von Erichs, but they loved the Freebirds were that good. You guys were that good. Hey, I want to ask you a question. That was, I think, your wife, Denise. But I want to ask you about this picture.
That is at my wedding to my wife now that we've been married 21 years. That was 21 years ago, John.
Wow.
Unbelievable. I can't believe it was that long ago.
At my wedding, Ron and John and their wives showed up. Ron and John dressed as pimps and their wives dressed as hoes. And then take her in a white shirt is enough. That's itself.
And Jerry, we come in about 5 minutes late, and we're thinking, this is going to be really funny, or we're going to get tons of heat. Thank God everybody thought it was funny. We come in with canes, dressed like this, come into his wedding late, and dressed as Godfather, dressed like this.
Oh, that's
awesome. Awesome.
That was so much fun. It took us all day in Vegas to find all that stuff. Me and Ron got out there early. We had it planned for weeks. We're going to show up as pimps, and then our wife said, "Okay, we're gonna show up as hoes." And we showed up late into the wedding with our canes, walking in like we owned the place. It was great.
And me and Denise are still married and doing well. So see,
absolutely, she's a great lady.
Oh yeah, she just saved me. My phone was dying.
Great.
Hey, Godfather, you remember the one time you were wrestling with Ron? I don't know why I'm jumping around all over the place here, but
I already know what you're gonna say. Go ahead.
Go to lock up with Ron, and all of a sudden, Godfather hits the ropes, and Ron's sitting there just looking at him, go back and forth, and then goes to lock up again. Godfather takes off again, goes and hits the ropes, and Ron goes, "Stop!" And now they're both just stopped. He goes, "Now, what do you want to do?" And just like that, Godfather goes, "I'm sorry, Ron, I'm high." And Ron
in that same match,
I gotta go tag me.
In that same match, I took an arm drag from you, and you said that is possibly the worst arm drag I've ever seen somebody do in my life.
Man, every time Godfather tagged in, me and Ron are trying to get each other in the ring. Ron would tag me, I tag him. Ron goes, "You deal with him." I go, "I don't want to deal with him. He's too big."
I remember hit the ropes, Ron going, "Stop." He said, now I don't know what it is you want to do, but whatever it is, you need to tell me. And I'm like, man, I'm sorry, Ron, I'm high, man. I'm sorry, man. But I remember that match. I took an arm drag from you, and I don't know what I thought I was taking, but it wasn't the right thing.
Charles, you do Ron better than Ron does, Ron. I'll tell you that.
Just great stories and great times, man. You know,
great people. That's the thing. You know, John and I've talked about this several times with several different guests. You know, people always thought, you know, it was the Click and BSK and other groups and everything, and there was disharmony backstage. But that group of people, I mean, everybody in those dressing rooms, we're all brothers. I mean, it was a harmony all the time. Wasn't that competition. I've heard it described as, well, we like to play dominoes, so we hung out with those. These guys like to go out and party at night, so they hung out with them. I mean, that's just how it was. You just went to where you felt the most comfortable, and it wasn't a rivalry type thing as a friendship thing.
I was just as much friends as with DX and the Click, you know. But the guys in the BSK are the guys that we hung out together. We played dominoes. We rode together. We went to the clubs, that was the strip club crew. Our crew was the strip club crew. You know, but no, there was no friction. We were all friends. And that's what's different now. When I go, and I'm not here to shit talk anybody, but when I go there now, it just seems so business. It's a business now. And even though it was a business back then, we were friends and we were family. And even though I didn't like that mother over there, if we were in a fight, I'd go fight with them. And it was just more, I don't know, it was more family back then. And today it just seems more like a business, if that makes any sense.
You know, I think one of the differences,
I don't think I would like it today.
I think one of the differences, you know, they create their own brand on social media, you know, so they have to spend a lot of time doing that. And that's very valuable for these guys. You know, if you got 1 million or 2 million followers, you can go anywhere because you got this huge brand. So they've got to keep up with that brand. We didn't have anything like that. You know, you guys played dominoes. We had nothing else to do. That was it. We're just back there. We had no cell phones. They came in later. We had no internet. We had no emails, nothing. It was just us. So we had to hang out with each other and entertain each other. And that's why you have so many great stories from our generation, and why today's generation, at least in my opinion, from what I've seen, is kind of lost a little bit because they've got to keep up with their brand, which is, I understand it's valuable, but you do miss out on that interaction that you have with the rest of the guys.
Let me tell you when I knew things had changed. And me and whoever, we're coming in late at night one night, and all of a sudden we hear, "Get him, give it to him. Yeah, come on. Yeah. And I'm like, what the hell? It's a party going on in this room, right? And yeah, give it to her. Give it to her. And I'm like, oh shit. So, you know, I know it's one of the boys. It sounds like D-Lo and Christian and Edge and Test. I'm like, what the fuck is these guys at an orgy or Rick? So I go in there and I pop the door open, right? And expected to see this wild freakathon where girls are naked and people are going, you know, guess what I see? I see all these guys playing video games. And they're making all this noise playing these video games. And I'd never played a video game in my life. And I'm like, what the hell? And I had a hard time understanding that they'd rather be playing video games than go to the strip club. So that's when things started changing, you know, and that's when, you know, PlayStations, Xbox, Madden, all that stuff. And that changed a lot of things too. But it was crazy to me. I expected to see a wild sex party in that room, going there and see other guys. Give it to him. Yeah. Take that. Yeah. Give it to him. You know, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, because we had some of the wildest nights ever. I mean, we had the regular bars, we had the regular places we went. I mean, it was the Wild West back then. You know, but plus we didn't have the, you know, cell phones where people could take pictures of us. I mean, the first time I took a picture of us, we were in like the Nashville airport or something, just sitting there having a drink in the afternoon, and some guy took a picture, and Taker told the manager, goes, "Hey, have him delete that off his phone." And the guy goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," and deleted off his phone. Yeah. You do that now, you'd be on freaking TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you know.
I am glad there wasn't social media around back then, because we'd been in some trouble.
We'd have been in a lot of trouble.
Been in a lot of trouble.
So Godfather, now you've got your own cannabis line. You've got you're out of the strip club business, right? your equity stake is sold, and so you're living just large now, right?
Yes, I'm involved in the cannabis. Imagine me being involved in the cannabis community.
I can't.
But yeah, I
believe
have my
that.
own strain. I wish I had a bag in front of me here, but I don't. It's
I
called
do too.
Insane Godfather. It's done with Be Real, and Be Real is the lead singer, rapper for Cypress Hill. I'm sure most people know that. But he owns what is called Dr. Green Thumb dispensaries in California. There's 8 of them all throughout California. And my brand is called Insane Godfather. It's a collaboration that I did with him, and it's something I picked out. I had a lot to do with the taste, the flowering, and everything. And it's my brand. It is put out through Insane Godfather, but it can only be bought at Dr. Green Thumb dispensaries in California. They don't sell it at other dispensaries because the Insane brand is a premium brand, and they only sell it at Dr. Green Thumbs. That's the only place you can get it.
You know, it's funny, Jerry, when we used to ride, me and Ron weren't smokers. You know, we'd drink beer, but we weren't smokers. So Teddy and Godfather would usually ride in the front if they heard some of the thing. Me and Ron would be in the back. We would stop at Bob Evans, and those guys would get like chicken breast and stuff like that. Me and Ron would get cakes and pies because we got the secondhand high. We're be high as a kite. Never smoked anything, but we almost had to check into a secondhand clinic.
Yeah. Oh. So, speaking of secondhand highs, I've been around the world. I'm old. We all agree on that. I'm old, and so I've challenged a lot of guys in my time. So I'm talking my big talk and all that stuff, and then Charles says, "All right, kid, when you come to Las Vegas, I'll show you where you want to be." Sure you will. So me and another good friend of all 3 of us, we were in the hotel room in Las Vegas. Hey man, let's call Charles. What a mistake. You know, we'd already had a few drinks. So what a mistake. So we got a bottle of Jack. Now 30 minutes later, there's this knock on the door. We open the door. We were in a nice size room. He goes over and he clears off this dining room table. I mean, just clears it off. Opens it, unzips his bag, opens it up, and proceeds to pour out all this stuff on the table. Well, this one here will do this one here. Well, let's try them all. Charles said, "You sure you want to do that?" Of course, yeah, I want to do it, man. I don't know how many I got through, but it wasn't all of them. Man, he was laughing on his way out. You remember that, Charles?
Yeah, I remember you. I remember the other person too.
Yeah, we won't get him in trouble.
No.
And then the poor guy, he's passed away. He made all the CAC, the cauliflower club meetings, and all the stuff up at Dan Gable Museum. We all ended up one night at CAC out in Vegas. We ended up in Charles's room. He'd rented a room for the night because he knew it was there. So we're all up there. And he got this. I mean, John, I've been around, but when Charles shows up, there's tools that come out that I don't have a clue what they are, but I'm willing to try them. So he starts taking them out. And so we passed it around. So I come to this one guy. He stands up. He's about 6'3". He got that bong, and man, he's hitting it. Charles, he's hitting it. And Denise is sitting over there by me, and she's kind of elbowing me. He ain't gonna make it through this thing. So he just as he passes it, he does a face dive right on the heater, busts himself wide freaking open. Now we're all messed up. We got this guy, that old man, too, that's bleeding like a stuffed pig in our room. What are we going to do with him? Charles just puts a coat towel on him, blows him out of the damn door. And of course, Denise goes and takes dresses and up and takes care of it.
I told him, he's like, "Oh, I do this, and I do that." I'm like, "Listen, dude, I know you think." I'm like, "But this is the real deal. This is the real stuff." All right. So he took a big rip, and all of a sudden he just put it went. His face down at it, man. Just right. He took the hit and just went. Boom.
So it's not wise to make challenges that you can't cash in.
Jerry, one time we're in Buffalo. We're at the Marriott in Buffalo, and me and Ron go out. Godfather's not with us for some reason. Viscera was right next door to him in a room. And me and Ron come in like at 1 or 2 o'clock when the bar's closed. And we still want to drink something. There's nothing to drink. We can't find no booze, no nothing. We're round up, ready to go. So we go bang on his door. He's sound asleep. So Godfather, get up. We're going to smoke with you. He goes, okay, guys, come on in. So he opens up the door. An hour later, Jerry, me and Ron are so high. We say, Charles, can we leave? We're sorry we woke you. And he just laid in bed. Can we go to bed? We'll never bother you again.
Never.
I can hear Ron now. Just leave him alone, man. I'm telling you,
Oh,
you don't want to smoke with him. Just leave him alone. Leave him alone. Leave him alone.
We thought it was a good idea.
We're gonna get you so high, Godfather. You're not gonna be able to walk. I got that. Ron be like, leave him alone. Y'all don't know. I would leave the room. They'd all be sleeping and stuff, and I'd be getting the last stuff in a little bag and roll my last couple of joints and walk out the room.
Jerry, you remember SummerSlam when Jesse Ventura was there in Chicago?
Oh yeah.
Snoop Dogg was there. So I walk in, and Kane is the mayor of Knox County, is standing back, looking in the area where the dressing rooms are, right before you go to Gorilla this way, the dressing rooms this way. And he's just sitting there like he's watching their car wreck. And he goes, come here, just come here. So I walk over there. I said, what is it? And I get there, you got to be kidding me. And Snoop Dogg is right next to Governor Ventura. He was governor at the time. So the whole bottom area smells like weed. And me and Glenn are just sitting there watching it. Jesse Ventura comes out and gets his catering. And he goes, yep, boys are still the boys. Turns around and walks back in.
I've been so many nights with Jesse in St. Louis. After he got elected governor, I was sending him texts, and he sent me one. He called me after I sent him one certain. He said, be very careful what you texted me now. Okay, I'm governor now. So right. I said, I got it. So I didn't text him no more because I was afraid to.
John, that day with Snoop, he's like, hey, you want to smoke? And I'm like, yeah, I want to smoke. So I'm not going to mention no names, but I grabbed 3 or 4 of the other guys. And just like John said, huh?
Yeah,
we know who they are.
Room, right?
We're not going to say their names.
I'm not going to say their names, but I got 3 or 4 other guys that they're with me, and we're just blazing up in the room. I mean, you know me, John. I don't care. They've been putting up with me forever. So I'm in there blazing. We're all blazing. And so after a while, it's just like fire alarms are going off and stuff. So now we got to go out of the room. Now everybody's afraid because there's Vince's office. Jesse's here. Everybody's afraid. I'm like, I ain't afraid. I'll go out that motherfucker. So I go outside. I kick my stand. I go outside, open the door. There's Jesse, there's Vince, there's Bruce, there's this one, there's Linda. And they all look at me like, and I'm like, hey, don't look at me. Snoop Dogg's in here. And I just walked through, and the rest of the guys would not leave the room until it was all clear. And you know what? Here's the funny thing, Jerry, and you might know better. I never heard one thing from anybody about that. Nobody. I was expecting to get nobody ever said anything to me about it.
Well, it was a Godfather. Nobody's going to say anything.
And Snoop Dogg.
And Snoop Dogg, yeah.
I'm like, hey, you guys are the ones that brought him here, not me. Don't be mad at me.
I remember, was it WrestleMania where you were going in, and we had to party in my room there that afternoon. Then we had to rush around and find all the air sprays, and we had to disconnect the fire alarm because we thought we were going to set them off. John, there was a group in my hotel room that to this day I don't know who they were.
One was like Mystic. It was a rapper. I forget what his name was. It was a rapper. Then that Cash Flow guy.
Yeah.
And then we were just in there.
Yeah, the guy that puts on all those the little Waylay or whatever his name is.
Yeah. Waylay or something.
Yeah.
But we were in there, John. We must have smoked 10 blunts in Jerry's room. At least 10 in his room.
I'm not usually very afraid when we do things like that, but that whole floor, we walked out, and so we saw some of those cleaning carts, and so the big thing is I didn't want to get charged $250 for a fee to come in and exterminate the damn thing. So we're going around all those damn house-made carts and stealing the air fresheners, and we emptied out about 10 gallons of that and you could still smell it all the way down to the elevator shaft there. But there were some times, and you mentioned earlier, and I'm sure you were part of Taker and Cypress Hill over in Germany. You know, that story there. Was you a part of that one?
I was not there. I know all about it, but I wasn't there.
Well, what a night that was. I remember I was in charge of that next morning. I mean, none of us got any sleep, but Cypress Hill, of course, was passed out. They didn't hang with Mark and the crew, and those guys come walking out of there, Taker and everything, like they'd been sleeping all night instead of drinking all night.
Me and Taker used to live by, we'll sleep when we're dead, man. And I got it like 3 weeks ago. I was on a 4-day shooting, golfing function with him. And we had a really good time. But one night we decided to do it like old times, and me and him drank 3 bottles of Jack Daniels.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah. 3 bottles.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Him, next time you see him, just ask him. It cost him about $40,000. We were at an auction, right? It'd take me too long. It's a military thing. He's part of a thing called Driveline. It's a military company that makes T-shirts for everybody, from Nike to everybody, but they donate so much to the military, and they give away so many houses to the handicapped military people, and they give grants, and they really do a lot for the military. So they had me, Taker, and a bunch of people there. So there's an auction, right? So take 3 bottles of Jack in. The next day, I'm not going to get into it. I don't want to get myself in trouble. But yeah, and Jack Daniels cost him a lot of money. And these other fools, because everybody at these tables, I have a little bit of money, but I don't have Mark money, right? And so they were all bidding against each other, and he got up to like 25 grand on this trip, and I was just like, wow. And he wanted that he bought a fire helmet for like $10,000. But it was all for charity that goes to this, which is cool. But I'm sure that those 3 bottles of Jack that we drank had something to do with that.
Well, Charles, you've been on here. I poured me a little glass here in the beginning, and I'm waiting for a toast there. And I think John's got one too. So, man,
where's mine?
I don't know, but when you text me, you told me to make sure we had a shot of Jack Daniels. I went and bought a bottle of Jack.
Oh, wait, you guys talk for 1 second. I got a bottle over here.
And I got Gentleman Jack here, by the way.
Well, normally, okay, look, can you see that? Normally I have Gentleman Jack, but it's out.
Okay.
No, we're going to reach over here. We're going to go get something else.
Hey, Jerry,
I got back from New York late last night. And so I really just get going, but I just finished this bottle of Gentleman Jack. Have you guys ever tried this?
What is it?
American Honey.
No. I hear it's good, though.
It's wild turkey with the little honey in it.
Ooh.
You serve it frozen. Wow. It's really, really good.
Wow.
Really?
So I'm going to. There we go.
Cheers.
Cheers,
good
guys.
Friends.
Good friends.
Cheers, guys.
Oh, that tasted good.
Mm.
And didn't have to gargle it like we used to.
Can you tell me, Steve asked me, why did we do that? Besides Kurt wanting you to do it, was there a reason that we did it?
I don't think so. I just knew ever since I got in the business, people said gargle Jack. I mean, in WWE, not in the territories, but in WWE, it was always gargle Jack.
Do you think it was like a rib? You think somebody ripped somebody one day?
No. Where it comes, it's an old wives' tale. Back in the before medicine days, that's what you used to do to get well. If you had a sore throat or you had congestion or something like, even kids, the parents would have, and then it evolved. The rich people had the brandy. We had the whiskey, the Jack. So your parents would pour you half a shot of Jack. Gargle it. You couldn't drink it. You just had to gargle it and spit it out. That's where that comes from years ago.
See, you learn something every day.
You get a little history and a little knowledge on these shows, so it's just not all fluff,
Hey, I didn't know that. I've always wondered why. I thought it was a rib. They just ribbed you. Hey, gargle it. But
yeah, it's an old wives' tale. Yeah, you
Because
gargle
we used to
Jack.
pass the bottle of Jack on the bus, and guys, it was always you had to gargle it before you drank it.
Yeah. We
The
didn't want
boys
you
be the
getting,
boys.
the boys didn't want you getting sick, man.
I always thought that it was to keep people that were faking the funk and acting like they were drinking and not really drinking and pour it out, make you gargle it, make sure you drink it.
Yeah.
It could have been because guys would pour it out. Guys would get scared by the end of the night. I always just figured, if I die, I die.
John,
if you make it to the end of the night, you got it made. It's that starting out that always scared me.
Johnny, you weren't a big whiskey drinker. You were beer, right? Mostly beer.
Yeah, me and Ron were just beer. Just beer. We just like the light beer. We drink beer all night.
Oh, no, I know you. I've seen you and him. I've seen you two go through a case of beer in the back of a car real quick with me and Teddy driving. So I know how fast you guys can drink beer.
Teddy would always count our beers, always. And we didn't know he was, but he'd count them all the time. He goes, "You guys had 28 beers last night. 28 beers." Teddy,
yeah,
you ain't got nothing better to do than to count our beers.
And you guys would handle it well too, man. You would never know it. Maybe after 30 or 40, but you wouldn't even know it. I mean, you guys, hey, it is what it is, But I just had such good times with you guys and that company, and I never worked for no other company than that.
Yeah,
you never worked for W. Huh?
No, never went. Once I came to WWE in '95, I stayed with them ever since. Never really thought about going anywhere else. Had some chances, later, around whatever, late after 2010 or something to go somewhere. I never considered it really.
Maybe that's why we're still around.
I think it is. And what a great time we had. It's just such good times, man. It was just so much fun. Good people
have no idea. No idea.
Yeah. Well, Godfather, thank you so much for coming on, man. It really is. Jerry and I were so excited when you're going to come on, and you've been such a good friend of mine. And man, we wrestled each other so many times in every character, and we drove together for years, and we're still good friends.
Yes, we are.
And that's a friendship I really cherish. So thank you very much for coming on.
Oh man, my pleasure. You two of my favorite people, man. Let's just keep doing our thing, man.
Yeah, that's it, brother. I can't wait to see you again. I hope it's out in Vegas, but if not, I'll cherish the moment wherever it is. You've always been a great friend, and we've had, all three of us have had some great time together. So we're blessed to have each other's company during those times, man. Thanks so much, Charles, for your time. We know you're international traveler now, and good luck on your cannabis industry, and I hope that thing blows up like crazy.
Well, I appreciate both of you guys, man. Nothing but love to everybody.
Love you, my brother.